You know, usually when you look at a complex machine, like a vintage mechanical watch, there's an expectation of transparency.
Right, you take off the back casing and you see the brass gears turning.
Exactly. The springs are coiling, and it just makes sense. Gear A turns gear B. It is pure cause and effect.
Yeah, it's a very comforting kind of logic, honestly. We like our machinery and our stories to follow a set of visible, predictable rules.
But then you step into the world of Gotham City, and suddenly you are looking at a watch where gear A doesn't just turn gear B.
Oh, it secretly triggers a trapdoor 3 miles away.
Yes, exactly. We are diving into a landscape of absolute narrative manipulation today where the machinery is entirely hidden under the floorboards. Welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me back.
And this one is incredibly special because we are speaking directly to you, our listener. We've got a custom-tailored document right in front of us, filled with your personal notes, diving into the 2001 video game, Batman: Vengeance.
Right, which was released by Ubisoft across, well, pretty much every platform of that era. PS2, Xbox, GameCube, PC.
Game Boy Advance too, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But our mission today isn't just to do a retro game review. What we're unpacking is how underneath those 19 levels of T-rated third-person platforming and driving lies a remarkably complex narrative of manipulation.
It's a carefully constructed puzzle designed to trick the player just as much as it tricks the protagonist. And we are going through that together using your memories as our guide.
Because your notes, those visceral, frustrating, and awe-inspiring moments from your childhood playthrough, they're sitting right here alongside the actual plot details.
In fact, looking at the very beginning of your notes, you mentioned that the sound of the opening gate in the first level is forever imprinted in your brain. You said it literally triggers memories of the game to this day.
That kind of sensory memory really speaks to how effectively this game captured the exact feel and art of the new Batman Adventures television show.
It really did.
To establish that mood immediately, the game drops you right into a high-stakes scenario. Batman arrives at Gotham Chemicals, rescues a gagged woman named Mary from a ticking bomb, and finds a ransom note from the Joker demanding $5 million for her son, Toby.
Which escalates to a massive confrontation on the Gotham Bridge. Batman tracks clues, fights goons to reach the highest point, and the Joker is holding Toby on a literal wrecking ball.
Right, and then he drops him. Batman dives, catches the boy, and the game delivers its first brutal subversion. Toby is actually a booby-trapped bomb.
Which is such a wild thing to experience in the first 20 minutes of a game.
Oh, absolutely. It teaches the player early on that your heroic instincts will be weaponized against you. And the psychological manipulation doesn't stop there.
Nope. Because in the aftermath, the woman Batman saved, Mary, reveals herself to be Harley Quinn. She tries to smash Batman with a hammer, the Joker intervenes, and they fight hand-to-hand.
And in the ensuing brawl, the Joker uses his classic joy buzzer gimmick, shocks Batman, and seemingly plummets to his death in the river below. Harley is devastated and just quits crime altogether.
The fake death trope, we see it in comic books all the time. But the notes you sent us highlight a different kind of trauma entirely in this opening section. You wrote that you found this to be a really cool, solid opening, but you specifically remembered your frustration of wasting hours not knowing you had to lean against the truck to progress.
Oh, man, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this because it perfectly encapsulates the era of old-school game design. Think of those old puzzle logic leaps in the early 2000s that just severely punished players before we had the luxury of easy online tutorials.
Right, where if you didn't press the exact right sequence of buttons in the exact right spot, you were just stuck.
You just had to suffer and experiment for hours on a single truck.
But look at the unintended brilliance of that frustration from a narrative standpoint. What's fascinating here is how effectively the game uses a classic comic book trope, the fake death, to immediately lower the player's guard.
Because you're so exhausted from figuring out the controls.
Exactly. Between the shock of the Joker's supposed demise and the mechanical frustration of figuring out that truck, your guard is completely down. You think, wow, the main villain is dead in Chapter 1, and I finally figured out the mechanics.
What could possibly happen next?
Right. You don't realize the chessboard has just been wiped clean. It sets up the entire rest of the game's underlying mystery.
A mystery that starts with a massive power vacuum. Because with the Joker seemingly dead, someone has to step up. Suddenly, a seemingly unrelated plotline kicks off, and the narrative pivots entirely to Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, and he is acting out of uncharacteristic, furious revenge. Freeze receives a mysterious promotional tape about a miracle treatment called liquid promethium, created by a Dr. Isaac Evers,
So Freeze attacks Evers' facility, freezing security guards left and right.
which forces Batman to pursue him in the Batwing, chasing Freeze's helicopter. But when Batman finally saves Dr. Evers from the attack, Evers looks him dead in the eye and claims he's operating under a grant from the Wayne Foundation.
Wait, hang on. I have to push back on Evers' cover story here, because this never made sense to me. How on earth did this brilliant chemist think he could casually lie to Batman, who is secretly Bruce Wayne, about a Wayne Foundation grant and not get caught instantly?
It is an incredibly reckless lie.
Did he think Batman just wouldn't double-check his own accounting?
Well, it speaks to the utter desperation of Dr. Evers. He isn't a seasoned criminal mastermind, right? He's a frightened scientist who has gotten in way over his head and is just panicking.
Makes sense.
He's trying to shoo Batman away because the truth is much more dangerous. When Batgirl looks into his files, she discovers that Evers' promethium treatment was far too unstable to ever receive legitimate government funding.
Oh, but magically, his research budget curiously increased every single time the Joker pulled a bank heist.
Precisely. Even Freeze dryly notes to Batman that the good doctor was making bad medicine. Synthesizing the clues, Evers' funding matching the Joker's heists, it shows that the Joker's invisible hand is already steering the other villains.
Which leads to Batman defeating Freeze by dropping suspended tanks on him and using Freeze's own gun to encase his head in ice. And this is a huge moment in your notes. You called out this section as easily the most fun level of the game.
It is a phenomenal boss fight.
It really is. But we also have to validate your pain regarding the highway signs during the chase sequences. You said they caught you out so many times, and I feel that in my bones.
Oh, that brutal era of early 3D collision detection.
You barely clip a pixel of a street sign and boom, mission failed.
Unforgiving and exact, much like the unseen puppet master stringing these villains together. Because the Prometheum mystery doesn't end with Freeze's arrest. The focus seamlessly shifts from chemical research to chemical mutation, leading directly into Poison Ivy's domain.
Batgirl is out doing reconnaissance, tracking Mayor Hamilton Hill, who is meeting a trench-coated figure by a train station.
Right, and meanwhile, Ivy finds a glowing green vial labeled Gotham Chemical. She tests it on a plant, it mutates instantly, and devours the rabbit sharing its cage.
Which is pretty dark for a T-rated game. And Ivy wastes no time weaponizing it. We get Batgirl fighting humanoid plant creatures on a moving train, leading to a high-speed Batmobile chase.
Which ends with an apple left behind that contains a writhing, mutated plant.
Yeah, it turns out Mayor Hill and several other major figures in Gotham are infested with Ivy's parasitic plants. She is extorting the city's highest leadership for the only known plant food antidote.
Which really highlights the immense fragility of Gotham's power structures.
Yeah.
Mayor Hill's susceptibility to this kind of blackmail proves the city's leadership is always vulnerable.
And that trenchcoat guy from the station, it turns out he's a mutated plant man, which is a fantastic nod to the animated series episode House and Garden.
It rewards the fans who know the deeper universe. And going back to your notes, you mentioned exactly that feeling. You wrote how much joy it brought you to see Batgirl actually out in the field, doing more than just sitting in the Batcave.
You specifically wished a true sequel would have expanded on those Bat family dynamics. When the sidekicks get their hands dirty, it makes the whole world feel alive.
Absolutely. And it connects that glowing green vial back to the overarching theme of mysteriously funded chemical advancements corrupting the city.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because to defeat Ivy, Batman faces an environmental boss fight against a giant 3-tendrilled plant monster suspended over a chemical vat.
Right, you can't just brawl with it.
No. I marvel at the mechanics of this fight. You have to systematically dismantle the monster using the environment. You use batarangs to break its grip, open valves to vent corrosive steam, and finally electrocute the creature, which shocks Ivy unconscious so Batman can save Mayor Hill.
Having thwarted Ivy, Batman looks for the source of all this chaos, tracking Joker's remaining goons to the historic Gotham gasworks. This ties the lingering threads of Evers, the Promethium, and the Joker together.
He talks to a seemingly reformed Harley Quinn, who helpfully informs him that Joker's men went rogue with his leftover toys and blueprints to the gasworks.
A remarkably convenient tip-off.
I know. So Batman gets to the gasworks and finds Dr. Evers tied up. And Evers finally confesses everything. He wanted to burn down his own Gotham industrial facility for the insurance money to cover his tracks regarding that Joker-funded Promethium research.
So he hired the Joker's goons, but they double-crossed him.
Exactly. They tied him up and decided to send highly flammable toys through the city's entire underground pipe network.
So consider the situation that man is presented with. He does what you'd expect. He floods the sprinkler system to stop the toys.
He defeats the goons, takes the tied-up Evers out to Commissioner Gordon, and hands him over. And then, out of nowhere, a Batarang flies out of the dark and hits Gordon.
The trap snaps shut. The police instantly turn on Batman. He is framed.
A massive police chase ensues across the rooftops, even involving a destroyed police helicopter. Now, in the document you sent us, you made a bold claim here. You stated that this is easily the best chapter in the game.
Oh, from a narrative design perspective, I completely agree.
But you also shared some depth trauma with us regarding this specific section. You heavily emphasized getting stuck at the gasworks level for months without the internet to help you.
Oh, wow. Months.
Yeah, you said you are haunted by the level's theme and how those Joker fireboxes drove you entirely around the bend, and I have absolute empathy for this pre-internet gaming struggle.
Oh, totally. You couldn't just look up a guide.
Exactly. Getting stuck in a difficult level for months forces the looping industrial music and the grimy aesthetics of that level to physically burn into your memory. It becomes haunting.
It really does. But this raises an important question about who is actually pulling the strings here. Dr. Evers thought he was using the Joker's resources for a simple insurance scam, but he was completely out of his depth.
Which sets up the final reveal. Because with Batman framed and hunted, he has no choice but to return to the source. He goes to the Joker's old Funabose warehouse hideout.
And he finds the Joker's knife on the floor, confirming he is alive.
Batman rushes to the gasworks roof, and there he is, the Joker. He reveals his masterstroke. He faked his death to work entirely in the shadows.
It's brilliant. He sent the tape to freeze. He gave Ivy the chemicals so she'd rebuild Gotham Chemicals for his toxin production. And he used Harley to frame Batman.
But the ultimate joke, the absolute sickest part of the plan, is what he did to Batman. The Joker manipulated Batman into opening the sprinkler system pipes back in Part 4.
Right.
The Joker plans to pump a mixture of Joker toxin and Evers' highly flammable promethium from a blimp into those very sprinklers, burning Gotham while everyone laughs to death.
It's terrifying.
So what does this all mean? I just marvel at the Joker's psychological warfare here. The twisted brilliance of his punchline is making Batman the primary instrument of Gotham's intended destruction.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, every single villain, Freeze, Ivy, Harley, and the seemingly greedy Dr. Evers, they're all just pawns on the Joker's chessboard. It culminates in a masterclass of narrative payoff.
So Batman defeats a jetpack henchman, boards the blimp, stops the flow of gas, and solves an autopilot puzzle to prevent the blimp from crashing into City Hall. And ultimately, he saves the Joker from falling to his death. Again.
Yeah, back to square one. Gordon apologizes after finding Harley's prints on the Batarang, and it wraps up.
Which brings us to your final verdict on the game. You admitted it wasn't a perfect game or a system seller, but you stressed that for a fan of the animated series, it gave you exactly what you needed.
And you specifically praised Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill's flawless voice acting, which really carries the whole experience.
It absolutely does. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your highly personal notes with us, Batman. Vengeance stands as a testament to the era, combining occasionally maddening level design, like the gasworks and those highway signs, with a top-tier Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill-led narrative that perfectly mirrored the new Batman adventures.
The classic.
But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. The Joker's entire scheme relied on Batman's predictable need to save the day, specifically flooding the pipes to stop the toys. If Batman's greatest weakness is his predictable sense of duty, does that mean his rigid moral code is actually the most dangerous weapon the villains of Gotham have in their arsenal?